You probably think ancient humans went to bed when the sun went down. They didn't. Not even close. When night fell thousands of years ago, ancient humans were just getting started. They gathered around fires, told stories, made music, planned hunts, and created art by firelight. Night wasn't downtime. It was when some of their most important work happened. But here's what's surprising. We've been so focused on what ancient humans did during the day that we've completely missed an entire half of their lives. A new wave of research is changing everything we thought we knew about nighttime in the ancient world. And what scientists are discovering is wild. Let's start with the simplest question. How many hours of sleep did ancient humans actually get? Scientists used to assume that ancient people slept when it got dark and woke when the sun came up. That's about 12 hours of sleep every night. Sounds amazing, right? But that's not what happened at all. Researchers studying pre-industrial societies found something unexpected. These people didn't sleep in one long block. Instead, they slept in two separate periods, separated by a couple of hours in the middle of the night. The first sleep happened right after dark. Then people woke up around midnight. During those 2 hours of wakefulness, they'd sit by the fire, talk with family, work on crafts, make tools, or simply relax. Then they'd fall back asleep for a second round. This pattern is called biphasic sleep. Scientists think this might have been how all humans slept before the invention of artificial lighting. And it completely changes our understanding of ancient life. Here's where it gets interesting. That wakeful period in the middle of the night? It wasn't boring downtime. It was actually sacred time. Many ancient cultures saw the middle of the night as spiritually significant. It was when people meditated, reflected, or talked to the gods. The Romans called this period the hours of the night watch. Warriors and guards kept watch. But for most people, it was time for deep conversation and intimate connection. Families would gather. Stories would flow. Children would listen to their parents' voices in the darkness. In medieval Europe, monks would wake up in the middle of the night to pray. They called this practice the night office. But monks weren't the only ones doing spiritual work at night. Across many ancient cultures, nighttime was when people connected with the sacred. But here's the part that surprised researchers the most. Ancient humans weren't just resting and reflecting at night. They were working. In ancient Egypt, people used the cool darkness to do heavy labor. Slaves and workers moved massive stones for pyramids and temples during the night. Why? Because it was cooler. Working in the scorching Egyptian sun during the day would have been deadly. The night shift was actually smarter. In pre-Columbian societies, nighttime was when hunters prepared for the next day's hunt. They'd sharpen spears, tie equipment, and study the patterns of animals they were tracking. The night was a planning session and a workshop combined. In ancient China, scholars and artists worked through the night. Poets wrote by candlelight. Painters created masterpieces in the darkness. There's even evidence that some of humanity's greatest artistic achievements happened during those quiet nighttime hours when distractions were minimal. And that's not even the strangest part. Some ancient cultures practiced something called nocturnal foraging. Humans aren't naturally nocturnal. We can't see in the dark like cats or owls. But ancient people figured out a workaround. They learned to forage at night using fire and moonlight. They'd hunt for certain foods that were easier to find in darkness. Some plants released their seeds or scents at night. Night-blooming flowers attracted insects that ancient people ate. Moonlight was crucial. On full moon nights, the landscape became nearly as bright as twilight. Ancient peoples tracked the lunar calendar carefully. They planned major activities around the full moon. It was their version of a floodlight. Researchers have found evidence of nighttime hunting in ancient middens, the garbage piles where people threw their food scraps. The bones and shells show that people hunted nocturnal animals specifically. They had to plan, prepare, and execute these hunts in darkness. This required knowledge and skill. But what about sleep deprivation? Didn't ancient people suffer without full 8-hour blocks? Surprisingly, no. Or at least, not in the way modern people do. Biphasic sleep appears to be a natural human rhythm. Modern sleep researchers have run experiments where they put people in complete darkness for 14 hours. The subjects naturally fell into biphasic sleep patterns. 2 sleeps, separated by 1 to 2 hours of wakefulness. No alarm clocks needed. No external pressure. Just natural human rhythm. That wakeful period between sleeps isn't experienced as insomnia or sleeplessness. It's quiet, restful, and meditative. People describe it as peaceful. Some cultures even considered it a sacred gift. A few hours of quiet clarity and spiritual connection every single night. The invention of artificial lighting changed everything. When electric lights arrived, we suddenly could work and be awake whenever we wanted. The natural biphasic rhythm broke down. Now we're expected to sleep 1 long 8-hour block and be awake for 16 hours straight. Many researchers think this is actually the abnormal pattern, not biphasic sleep. This might explain why so many modern people struggle with insomnia. We're fighting our natural rhythm. But there's another huge part of ancient nightlife we're just beginning to understand: socializing and culture. Imagine you're an ancient human. You've worked all day in the sun. Food is scarce, survival is uncertain, and the future is always precarious. What do you do when night falls and work stops? You gather around the fire with your family and community. This is where storytelling happens. This is where culture gets created and passed down. Around the fire, old stories are retold. But new stories are also invented. Elders share wisdom. Young people learn the rules and values of their society. Songs are sung. Jokes are told. Laughter echoes into the darkness. Archaeological evidence suggests that fire-centered gatherings were central to human culture. Around fires, humans created the traditions, stories, and songs that defined their civilizations. Without those nighttime gatherings, human culture as we know it might never have developed. Anthropologists have found that modern hunter-gatherer societies spend about 3 to 4 hours every single night in storytelling and social bonding. That's 3 to 4 hours of pure cultural transmission happening in darkness. Over a lifetime, that's thousands of hours of education, entertainment, and connection. Think about what that means. For most of human history, nighttime was the main time for entertainment, education, and social bonding. The daytime was for work. The nighttime was for culture. We've completely reversed this pattern. Now we spend our waking hours working and consuming entertainment alone on screens. Our social time is scheduled and limited. Community gathering is rare. We've lost something profound. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some ancient cultures practiced something called dream sharing. During that wakeful period in the middle of the night, people would discuss their dreams. They'd analyze them, interpret them, and share their meanings. In many ancient cultures, dreams were considered messages from the gods or the spiritual realm. A person's dreams were important information for the entire community. Elders would help younger people interpret their dreams. Patterns would emerge. If multiple people had similar dreams, that was seen as a message about what the community should do next. Should we move? Should we hunt? Should we prepare for danger? Dreams provided guidance. In ancient Mesopotamia, dream interpretation was such an important skill that there were professional dream readers. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs consulted dream interpreters before making major decisions. In ancient China, emperors kept dream journals. Modern sleep research has found that REM sleep, the stage where we dream, is actually more common during the second sleep period. So ancient humans might have naturally had more vivid dreams during that second sleep. When they woke up during their wakeful period, the dreams would be fresh and memorable, perfect for sharing and discussing. This entire system, the biphasic sleep, the wakeful period, the dream sharing, the storytelling, created a very different experience of being human. Modern humans are stressed, tired, and isolated. We work longer hours than any previous civilization. We sleep less. We have less time for community. We're disconnected from natural rhythms. Ancient humans had built-in time for rest, connection, and reflection. Night wasn't something to be fought or slept through. Night was a gift. It was when the real business of being human happened. The irony is crushing. We invented electric lights to give us more time to work and accomplish things. Instead, we lost something precious. We lost the night. Some modern researchers are experimenting with biphasic sleep schedules. They're finding that people who return to this natural rhythm report feeling more rested, more creative, and more connected to their community. Their productivity increases. Their stress decreases. Their relationships improve. The ancient world understood something we've forgotten. Nighttime isn't the absence of day. It's a different kind of time. Sacred time. Connecting time. Creative time. When ancient humans looked at the night sky thousands of years ago, they didn't see darkness. They saw possibility. They saw time stretching out before them. Time for work, time for stories, time for dreams, time for each other. We've spent the last 100 years trying to banish the night. We've filled it with artificial light and digital screens. We've turned it into a time for more work, more productivity, more grind. But the ancient world knew better. Night is when we restore ourselves. Night is when we connect. Night is when we dream. And maybe, just maybe, if we learned to honor the night the way ancient humans did, we'd remember who we really are.